This is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks, where we review movies. Love them or hate them, someone's got to do it. So enjoy the show. Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks, and anything else that gets in the mix. And today I'm here with Steve from the Haunted UK podcast. Hi, Steve.
Hello there, Sarah. How are you?
I'm great. My voice is terrible. This has been like 2 months of me not being able to really talk at all. So
Oh no.
I know. And you know, when you have a podcast, it's kind of hard to
It's you're kind of restricted by your primary instrument being sounding very gruff at the moment.
Yeah. And what's funny is that as I get older, it gets worse and worse. So every time I get like an allergy attack, like a sinus infection, and it turns to bronchitis, it's worse and worse and worse on my voice. And so,
oh my God.
Yeah, like as a kid, I could go scream for days, like cheer at football games and whatever, and never lose my voice. Now I go to like a loud like coffee house and talk to my friend, and my voice is shot. I just.
Oh my God! Right. Okay. Well, let's hope we can get through this. Okay.
Yes, this is the first episode I've done in months. So welcome everybody. And if you'd like to give my audience just a little info on your podcast.
My podcast is called the Haunted UK podcast. We deal predominantly with ghost stories, poltergeist stories, hauntings, the general stuff of the unknown, the paranormal world. We're not a kind of a talky podcast. It's more of a storytelling podcast. And so we'll structure it, we'll research a topic, we'll present the topic, and we'll present the happenings in the haunting or the happenings in the ghost story or whatever it may be. But then we leave it to the general public to decide for themselves whether they want to believe that or whether they could believe it or whether they don't believe it. We're not kind of, we're not trying to push an agenda or a belief or anything like that. We just leave it to the public to decide whether they want to believe it or not. And, it's been really, really good. We've had some great experiences, and the listener stories that we have come from all over the world, and they are fascinating. So we thoroughly enjoy it. It's brilliant.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know, I hadn't listened to an episode yet, so I wasn't quite sure, what kind of haunted stories you guys talked about. That's really awesome. You guys do research. We don't do research here at this podcast.
We kind of have to get the research in to make sure that what we're saying. If we did, for instance, when we did a 3-part episode about the Enfield poltergeist, that's the kind of only big story that we've done. We tend to tackle the smaller ones, not the ones that have been done to death, if you know what I mean. So we tend to do that. We'll write a script out completely, so everything's scripted, but it's more of a storytelling thing with lots of atmospheric sound effects and background kind of music and stuff like that. So it gives you kind of a good creepy experience. But all of the stories, every single one of them are true as far as the witnesses are concerned. We don't badmouth any witnesses. We don't tell them that they haven't had their experiences or they're lying, because we can't prove whether they have, they've had those experiences or not. And I think it's very important to give people who maybe have had a paranormal experience or a ghost sighting or something a good, honest, reliable community to be able to speak out to and to, put their story across and not be afraid of doing it. So, we're quite proud of that as well.
I like that. You guys should come travel around Texas here in the States, because there is a ghost hotel tour you can go on where all these different hotels have all these ghost stories behind it. There's this one restaurant that I've been to as a kid that supposedly it's like a hotel, but it's also like just a regular restaurant, and they have ghost sightings all the time, and they have postcards that you can buy that has a ghost in the background. It's pretty cool.
What's the hotel called?
Oh, I wish I remembered.
If you do remember, please send me. Just drop me a DM with the name of it on. I'd be fascinated to have a little look into that. Definitely would.
I think it would be fun. And we tried to actually, me and my co-host, we were gonna rent a hotel room in October at one of these ghost hotels.
Spooky season.
But the rates were so expensive.
I can imagine. Again, you guys over there, you do Halloween brilliantly.
Yeah.
It's kind of got a couple of, excuse the pun, couple of claw marks in the, the I suppose, the living of the UK people at the moment, but it's nowhere near as big as the US, and that's one thing that I definitely want to actually get over there and experience how the US does Halloween, because it looks spectacular.
It's fun. There's lots of different stuff you can do. Some of it's kind of we have an amusement park, and depending on which haunted house you go to, it's either going to be like super cheesy or you might pee your pants. You just never know.
Right, okay.
But
quick question. Are you a pumpkin carver? Can you?
I do like to carve pumpkins. I haven't done it in a long time. A couple of years ago, I actually bought these tiny pumpkins, and we had those for nearly, I'd say, almost a year. And we never carved them, and they never rotted. It was insane. I was like, I've never seen a pumpkin last this long.
It's a supernatural pumpkin.
Yeah, it was like the perfect pumpkin. It had like the little swirlies at the top, and it looked like
the ridges
from Cinderella. Like it was like a perfect pumpkin, and they lasted a long time.
I'm awful at carving pumpkins. I've tried and I've tried. I can just do the basic Halloween pumpkin thing, and that's about it, really. When you see some of the amazing art pieces that some of these pumpkin carvers can come out with, it's absolutely stunning. But no, I can't do any of that.
Do you ever get the kits? Because like the kits have like little pictures, and you just follow the lines.
Yeah. And I'll fail quite often on that as well. So there you go. It's not something I'm great at, but I do love looking at things like that.
You could always paint the pumpkin instead of carve the pumpkin.
That's a damn good idea, Sarah. Actually, I could use a Sharpie. I could just Sharpie it with a black Sharpie. That'd create the illusion that I've done it.
Yeah. I actually went to art school, so I'm not a good person to ask about carving pumpkins, because I'm not saying I'm the best, but I would say I probably am better than other people.
It's an art form.
Yeah.
It's an art form.
Yeah. All right. So we have the Prestige that we're going to be talking about today. So why is this your number one film?
I wouldn't necessarily say, Sarah, it's my number one film.
Okay.
It's really up there with my favourites. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan anyway.
Yes.
I loved what he did with Batman, and I really, really loved what he did with Batman. People kind of talk about Tim Burton as the revolutionary mind of bringing the superhero genre into being with Batman. But I think Chris Nolan took this in a whole different direction. And I think I just love him as a filmmaker. But when this came out and I watched this, I'm very much into magic anyway. I was fascinated by it and I loved it. It got kind of everything for me. It's got, great acting in it. It's got great direction, beautiful scenes in it. And it's also this kind of strange sci-fi, maybe unexplained theme running through the middle of it, always through the middle of it, which will become apparent when we continue to talk about it. But it's up there with one of my favourite films. I really love this film.
So for some reason, I always thought I didn't like this movie, and I'll tell you why. So when this movie came out, the same day I saw this movie, and then I saw The Departed that had come out just a couple weeks before this movie.
Leonardo DiCaprio Departed?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
I love that movie. So I don't know if it was I didn't care for this one because I loved the second movie we watched that day better. I'm not sure. But for some reason, I thought I had seen the other magician movie that came out the same year, The Illusionist. And
that was Ed Norton.
Yeah, and I was like, what? I guess in my head, I must have been like, oh, The Prestige is so stupid. But maybe I'd seen The Illusionist and thought that one was bad, and I just got it mixed up. Because I watched this and I was like, oh, no, I didn't. I liked this movie. I never hated it.
It's a great film. It's a great film.
I don't care for Scarlett Johansson, which people of this podcast know that already.
Right. Okay. So can we just quickly get into that? Why do you not care for Scarlett?
So there are a few actresses that just irritate me, and I cannot tell you why. One of them, the top one, is Nicole Kidman. I don't know why. There's something about her. I just can't stand her. And she is like an American version of Nicole Kidman to me. There's just something about her that I can't say. I watch her movies, but I begrudgingly watch them. Like, I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of one up you on this, Sarah, because I've got people like this, exactly the same views as you have with certain actors. And oh my God, if I say this on your podcast, I am never going to be allowed back on here again, I swear. Because they're probably two of the most maybe beloved actors in the United States. Probably worldwide, actually, but oh my God, do I have a problem with both of them.
Okay.
One way more than the other, but I've got a big problem with both of them. I can mention them if you like, or if you want listeners to switch off. Okay, the first is Keanu Reeves.
Okay.
I don't know what it is with him. Bill and Ted, he's great. Yeah. Please, don't put him in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Don't. Just move away from it, please. Move away from that property. Put somebody else in it. But the second, by far, by a country mile, has got to be my good friend Johnny Depp. I absolutely do not get it, Sarah. I don't get it. Oh, my God, he's such an acting powerhouse. No, he's not. He literally goes to the top of a building, jumps off, and lands in a skiff full of dress-up clothes. Yeah. Literally walks out. There's Tim Burton. Okay, let's cast you in something. And he just does the same thing over and over again. Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean, I can't stand anybody who I'm ranting now, Sarah. You're going to regret this. Anybody that can tell me what the plot of the third Pirates of the Caribbean film is, should get an Oscar. I don't think it even had a plot. It was just Johnny Depp doing a really bad impression of Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones dressed as a pirate. And that is all it is. I've got a huge problem with Johnny Depp. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't understand. I think there are far, far better actors than Johnny Depp. And there are two of them in this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm not a huge Johnny Depp fan either. I like him in those movies just when he's, being Captain not Jack Sparrow. Yeah.
Please don't.
Like, I do like him in that movie, but there are so many movies that I can't stand him in. So I understand. He would be on my mail list of people. Yeah. I equally don't like Tom Cruise most of the time.
Oh my God! Right, okay, that's another one. I'm going to join you on that. You are 100% right, and I'm going to quickly rant about this if it's okay for 1 minute.
Yes, of course.
Right, literally all that Tom Cruise does is he gets a vehicle, which is one of his movies, just to do as many stunts as possible in,
right?
Just to prove that as the older that he gets, he can still do it. Tom, I'm not interested. I'm just not interested. Is there just any chance that, you can just go back to doing maybe movies like A Few Good Men or something like that,
You can't handle the truth.
You can handle the truth. again, another Nicholson one, actually, like what was the film that you were saying about with?
Oh, The Departed.
The Departed. Great actor Nicholson is. But yeah, I've got a big problem with Tom Cruise. I really have got a big problem, especially when he goes off on his rants and when he goes off on his weirdo stuff. It's just, Tom, at the end of the day, my friend, you're an actor, and that's it.
Yeah.
You're no better than anybody else.
There's a few movies that I like Tom Cruise in, but there's a lot of movies that I'm just like, ugh, I won't see.
I'm totally with you. Yeah, totally with you.
I feel like we just had a therapy session.
It feels like it. I've actually found somebody that shares some similar opinions. Really, because I'll get people. Oh my God, you don't like Johnny Depp? No, I don't like Johnny Depp. Oh, but he was so great in what was it? What was that one? The Lone Ranger. Really, one of the most racist films that Disney's ever released ever. Right? Okay. Is there any wonder why you can't get that streamed on Disney anymore?
Like I thought he was good at in What Eating Gilbert Grape.
Okay.
Things from his past I thought he was better in. But yeah, he's like a one-note person. He just seems to do like the same part all the time, which
I think he does.
Ironically, is why I liked Ryan Reynolds. But after this whole like stupid movie that came out, I am less of a fan of Ryan Reynolds.
Because of Deadpool.
No, because of him and his wife. Just, I don't like her anyways. I've never, apparently she's very Nicole Kidman to me as well.
Okay.
There's just something, I've disliked her since the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I cannot stand her. I hated her in Gossip Girl. I watched it, but I was never team Serena Vanderwoodson. And so my hatred for her was already there. And then him just being a part of it, just, ugh.
Yeah. He's very much prevalent in the UK at the moment because obviously he owns one of the Wrexham United. He owns the football team over here, so yeah, he's seen quite often over here. I like him. I do like Ryan Reynolds. I think he's a very clever guy. He's very good at what he does.
He plays himself, so he's pretty good at that.
Whereas Johnny Depp plays anybody who Tim Burton wants him to play.
Yeah.
But in the same accent and the same everything else. I've heard some horror stories of some of the roles that they wanted Johnny Depp to do. One of my biggest nightmares is that I'm falling asleep, I'm having a great sleep, and then suddenly I wake up to think and to find that Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis have finally rescinded on their promise not to remake Back to the Future, and they've cast Johnny Depp as either Doc Brown or Marty McFly. And oh my God, it's a nightmare. Back to the Future is beloved for me. It's beloved. I love it. It's a beloved movie. And they even take the they even poke fun at me at work because they know of my not so much hatred, but my dislike of Johnny Depp. When they say, they're remaking Back to the Future and Johnny Depp's playing Doc Brown, I'm just, don't go there, please. Don't go there.
Dear God. Yeah, no.
That's kind of like casting somebody else for Indiana Jones, except Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
No, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. It's as simple as that.
Ugh, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Sarah, this is the hill I'm going to die on, and that's it. I've staked my claim.
I'm with you. And it's funny, I don't really care for Christian Bale a lot of the times.
Right, okay.
So this movie is full of two people that I'm like, but I still liked it. So
right, okay.
Yeah. I don't know what his problem is. He's just, you can see that he is what are those actors called? Like, they just like method actors. Yeah, he's a method actor. And
yeah, sure.
I'm just like, get over yourself, Christian Bale. Like, you don't have to change your teeth to be in this movie, you know?
I've got to admit, I think if you want to put that kind of effort into doing what you love doing, then fair play to Christian Bale for doing it. I do think that he is the best Batman that has ever been. But I say that in the terms of you don't only have to be a really good physical Batman to play Batman, which he was. You've really got to play the kind of more arrogant, slimy, self-centered Bruce Wayne side. And I think he did it great. And I say it's a 50-50 split with Batman, and I think Christian Bale did a great job. But Hugh Jackman, do you know what? I've got a lot of time for Hugh Jackman. I think he got an unfair caning, really, for being in The Greatest Showman and for kicking that off and for getting it to where it was. And it was a great success. And, to be accused of, he's just a song and dance man and this kind of thing, I've got a lot of time for Hugh Jackman. I think he's a really nice guy, genuinely.
Yeah.
And I really liked him in this. It was just something that I've never kind of seen him play before. And I think he did a great job. I really liked him in this.
I did too. I love him in Les Mis as well.
Yes, yeah.
I liked him in that movie. What I didn't like is I always was so happy that he had like his love of his life, his wife, and then I found out that he like divorced her and he's married to this or going out with this other lady from his play or musical he was in. I was like, wait,
right.
What did you do? Hackman, Gene? Or you? Why would you do that?
Who knows? Or dares to dream.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But anyways, so we have The Prestige.
Yes.
So my very first thought was Michael Caine. I forgot he was in this. And
every magic trick has 3 parts.
Yes. And every time I see him, I'm just like, Michael Caine. I can't say it without both names.
Yeah. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. He's great. He's a UK legend. Yes. Michael Caine. He's a great guy.
I love him. He's great. So when my first thought when the little boy is crying about the bird.
The bird, yes.
And he says, what happened to his brother? I was like, oh, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, didn't notice that the first time I watched this movie. This is kind of like the Sixth Sense. Like, I think this is only the second time I've watched it. And so now I'm like, oh, that's how you can tell.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well, are we okay to do that, by the way, spoilers?
I mean, this came out in 2006, so if you haven't seen it, it's almost 2026. Yeah. That's on you.
Yeah, we'd be okay.
But spoiler alerts for anybody who haven't seen the movie.
Yeah. So what did you think of the opening then? What did you think of it as we're watching this? What are your thoughts about it?
So I like magic and I like magic tricks. I think when you see behind the curtain, you see how the magic trick is done. It kind of ruins it. So just watching it as an audience member, it's a lot more fun. You can be disillusioned and just watching it to watch it is a good time. But then when you start to peel back the surface and you find out how they do the stuff, it just kind of ruins it a little bit.
Yeah, I think the problem with a lot of, not the problem with a lot of magic is, but as you say, when you kind of peer behind the curtain of actually how it is done, and again, I've been into magic for a long time. If you start to explain stuff to people, then their reaction either is, "Oh, is that it?" or it's, "Don't be stupid, that can't be it."
Right.
But it really is. It really, really is. A guy by the name of, I think it's either Guy Vernon or Harry Lorraine, really, really great close-up magicians. One of them's sadly passed away a long time ago. I think Harry Lorraine's still alive, but he's in his 90s now. He's got to be in his 90s. I can't remember which one of them said this, but it's a great saying. And you can associate it with a lot of things in life. People aren't stupid. They're not fooled by what they see. They're fooled by what they think they see.
Yeah.
And that is it all over. And it was great to kind of watch this, to kind of see that rivalry, that relationship between the two magicians start to crumble because of the death of this one person, because of a failed knot, or was it a failed knot? Who knows? And it was really nice just to see that breakup and them become involved in this really kind of malicious contest, if you like, of going to each other's shows and ruining each other's shows in front of the audiences, trying to get revenge over each other. I loved that bit. I really did. But in the back of both their minds is this one particular illusion, which really does, it really does make things complex because they're both trying to find ways to do it perfectly.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand, spoiler alert, why Hugh's character, why he doesn't get that it's a twin. Like, he literally did almost the same thing, having a doppelganger. And he knows that Alfred commits, like solely commits. And he even points out about the Asian magician, how he even walks all crooked-like to make his illusions work. Because if people saw him just walking normally, they'd be like, oh, wait, how did he do that? And it wouldn't be as good. So why wouldn't he just think the easiest answer is probably he has a twin?
Okay, yeah, great point. Maybe I can counter by saying if he's never ever been aware that he's got a twin, he wouldn't have ever known. But yeah, I do get that point, Sarah. Yeah, that it wouldn't have taken much, much feeling around in the dark to work out that it was actually a twin. Yeah. But there's a chap that turns up, a third of the way through, halfway through, that again really kind of opens this movie up, and that's the great David Bowie playing Nikola Tesla.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I love that kind of secret, kind of mystical thing where Hugh Jackman, again, spoiler alert, sorry, Hugh Jackman is trying to work out how to make the perfect transported man illusion. So he goes to Tesla, and he's warned to kind of stay away from Tesla, and his approaches and his thinking and his experiments could be highly dangerous. But he goes up there to that house on that hill with all the fence around it, and asks him to make this machine. Can he do it? I love that part in the film where he actually goes up there to see him. I think it's the second time or something like that, and they're trying to, is it the hat or the cat? Yeah. Something like that. The hat in the cat in the hat. I'm going back to Doctor Who. And I love the bit where Hugh Jackman's coming out and there's a pile of hats on the floor, isn't there?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, so it does work.
Yeah, it really
does work.
Where do the hats keep going? I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, so it's working. It's disappearing. But, we need to work on this a little bit more. You really do need to work on it. And then all those hats, the pile of hats are outside, and you think, oh my God, right, okay, he has got it working.
Yeah.
There's some very malicious stuff that goes on in this, though, especially when, again, sorry, spoiler alert, where Christian Bale's twin has to shoot his own hands, or has to saw his fingers off.
Yeah.
Well, chisels them off. I think he's actually got the chisel. That's kind of, that's horrible. To make himself obviously look exactly the same.
Yeah, that is commitment.
Because of him getting his fingers shot off in the bullet catch trick, which Hugh Jackman kind of hijacks. I just really liked it. I really liked that element of it. And even Michael Caine, the great Michael Caine, even he couldn't, I'll sound like Jason Statham actually, even he couldn't work out what he was, what Christian Bale's character was doing. Trying to work with Hugh Jackman. No, it's a double. He's using a double. I'm telling you, he's using a double. I really liked it. Scarlett Johansson. Yeah.
I'm more of a fan of Piper Perabo, so I would have loved if they had swapped parts. And so Piper was in the movie the rest of the time, but whatever. That's personal opinion. To me, Sarah says, I know what you are at one point, which I saw in my, I do a tiny bit of research. Which is mostly just looking up IMDb trivia. But in my research, she wasn't supposed to say that. And she thought she ruined the movie by saying it. But she says it in such a disgusting way that you're like, what? Well, what is he? Because if someone said that to me and I was a twin, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I was born that way. Like, it's not disgusting. It's just, there's two of us. But she said it like, I know what you are. Like, you're an alien, or a vampire. Like, do you think she actually knew? Has she met the other twin? I mean, obviously she has, because some days he loves her and some days he doesn't.
Yes. I think that's kind of where it probably happened. In the more intimate parts, maybe, they're not exactly identical twins, and maybe she could tell the difference that, hang on a sec, there's something wrong here. There's something a little bit different. So, when she says, I know who you are. In other words, you're prepared to go to any lengths, including manipulating our own marriage, our own life, our own relationship to beat this other person, to get a better trick, to be the best at something. And maybe that was what she was meaning.
Like, couldn't you just tell her, like, hey, some days you're going to be here with my brother just pretending, and some days it's going to be me, but I need you not to say anything in public. Like, why couldn't that have been easy peasy, lemon squeezy?
I think it's because they're human beings, they're people, and at some point somebody will say something. So maybe the commitment that Christian Bale's character and his twin, maybe that whole commitment was so huge that they would go to any lengths to keep this as private and as personal as humanly possible. I've got to say, the fact that one of them had a moustache and wore a hat and something like, it was a little bit like Superman's disguise of wearing a pair of glasses at times.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. But let that slip, let that slide. Yeah. A few great other people pop up in this though. The brilliant Andy Serkis, great actor, brilliant director as well. There, played Tesla's assistant.
Yeah.
I thought he played a great part in that, Andy Serkis. And if anybody spots this, if you're, fans of magic, there's a guy on there called Ricky Jay. Again, who's sadly no longer with us. And he performs a couple of magic acts in The Prestige. And he actually was the advisor, the consultant for the magic tricks that were being done by the actors. Ricky Jay, he was a really, really talented American magician, one of the best. He's sadly no longer with us, but he turned up in this as well, and it was really nice to see Ricky Jay do a little bit of a turn on there. But I think that the meat of this really starts to kick in when David Bowie's Nikola Tesla gets involved, and the closer that Hugh Jackman's Robert Angier gets to finally getting this perfect version of the transported man.
Yeah.
But it turns out it's not that perfect. It's a huge risk every single time that it happens. So, in other words, I might as well just give the spoilers out. It's a duplicating machine, really. It's a huge duplication machine that the actual main illusion of the whole film is the setup of two doors. A magician walks through one door, bounces a ball, and then can appear in the other door 20 or 30 feet apart and catch the ball. How do they do it? It's obviously a twin, but Robert Angier finds a way around it in the sense of getting Tesla to build a machine that can duplicate him. But there's a really big problem with the duplicating machine, which you kind of find out in a bit of a chilling way.
Do you want to explain that to people?
Okay, so the duplicating machine works great, but the big problem with it is Hugh Jackman's character doesn't know whether he... Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. It duplicates Hugh Jackman's character. What's going to happen to all these duplicates? Well, you can't have loads of Hugh Jackmans running around. Maybe a lot of women would love that. Yeah. A lot of men would probably love that. Yeah. Who knows? But you can't really have lots of Hugh Jackmans running around. So the problem Hugh Jackman's character has got is, what do I do with these duplicates? I know I'm going to put a huge tank of water underneath the trapdoor where the transported man appears, and I'm going to have to get rid of that clone, if you like. So he takes to killing them off.
Yeah.
And the problem is, he doesn't actually know whether he's going to be the one that's in the water tank when the machine activates and it performs the duplication. So it is really macabre when you think about it, that he's constantly risking his own life, knowing that he could be the one in the box drowning.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually certain or sure what the duplicate is going to be like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And then we have poor Christian Bale's character who sees this happen. He tries to save him, and then they say that he actually
murdered him.
Yeah. And we know that to not be true. And then he gets killed and hung in jail, but it's actually
his twin.
Yeah. And so
more spoilers.
Like, and then Michael Caine finds out that he really didn't do it, and so he helps get his daughter back, which was nice.
Yeah, and I think it kind of switches then, doesn't it? I think the movie kind of switches then to realising that out of all of it, it's probably the lovely Hugh Jackman's character that is the worst out of all of them.
Yeah. He is, because it made him mad. Like it.
Yeah, it did. And he was prepared to go to any lengths to put an end to Alfred Borden, Christian Bale's magician.
Which really, if he had just kept doing it the way he was doing it with Roots as being his doppelganger, like that would have been perfect. You could have just kept going on that way.
Yeah. It comes down to people, doesn't it? Again, it's Root being kind of like the alcoholic, the wild, the off the trigger person in this. You're completely unaware of what he's going to do, and I think he actually does that in part of the show, doesn't he? Where he goes off topic, off script, if you like, and the real Hugh Jackman's thinking, "Oh my God, what is this guy going on about? What's he doing? We've got to shut him up. We've got to, stop him." And then he also realizes that it's, you're not the only star in this.
Yeah.
I am as well, because I'm your other half, and I can pretty much do what I want. And there's a lot of kind of arguments in that sense that root their way through the film. How are you going to handle this person? How do you make best of this person and satisfy this person without them overstepping their mark, if you like? And there's a lot of that in this film. But you do find out at the end that the aristocratic Hugh Jackman is kind of the bad guy in all of this.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because I do like Hugh Jackman, but he played it well.
Do we think that Scarlett Johansson character ever finds out how he does the trick?
I don't think she does.
Yeah, I don't think.
I think she's probably got a really good idea, but I don't think she does. I really don't think she does. I do think she has a, incredible change of heart to him, the way she sees how this has all kind of gripped him and changed him as a person, and he's just unstoppable until he gets actually what he wants. But I don't think she does know exactly how it's done.
And do we think she was lying to which guy about being truthful to which guy?
I don't know about that. I've continually wondered about that, and I still don't kind of know. Sometimes I think, I think she was lying. I think she was, and then I just don't know. I don't know. What do you think? How do you think she was lying? And what did you think of? What did you think of Hugh Jackman's character right at the end? Did you think he was the bad seed about all of this, or do you think that? Yeah,
because he could have just made one clone and then just did the trick that way, and just used it to win. You didn't have to keep multiplying yourself. And I thought he was only going to do one show. Did I miss that part?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was only supposed to be one show. But again, I suppose it's exposing maybe the greed of humanity at times, where one show, it's never going to be one show. If you can go out there, going completely off topic, I think it's like a lot of boxers maybe. People that when they get out there into a boxing ring and they've got 50,000 people, screaming their name.
Yeah.
When they retire, nothing ever lives up to that.
I guess not.
It's difficult to find something that can duplicate that and to live up to it. So maybe that's what it was with him. Maybe it was that simple downfall of humanity where you just become addicted to it. You need that high, and that's what I think he wanted. Once he found out that he could do it and get away with it, and the crowd loved it, why stop?
Yeah, because
why stop?
At the end, we see all those boxes or
a lot of clones.
Why keep them?
Yeah, what do you do with them?
Why don't you just burn them or something? Why do you keep a weird collection of your dead carcasses?
It was when that kind of comes out and you're seeing all of that. That is very disturbing and very macabre. I just kind of loved it, Sarah. I really kind of loved it. I thought it was totally different to what Chris Nolan was doing as a director. Because I think this should have come out before Batman, but I don't know what happened with Batman Begins. But that kind of got pushed forward. But he was already working on this before Batman Begins.
Yeah.
And I just think to go from that to this, and I do love the way Chris Nolan tells his stories and the way he kind of puts things together. I do love the way he shoots stuff as well. He's very, very... I think the thing that I really like about Chris Nolan is he'll present something to you. If anybody has seen... oh, my God, what is it? Let me just have to think of what this film is called. It's got Leonardo DiCaprio in Inception.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so anybody seen Inception? I think Inception's a great film. I do like a lot of Chris Nolan stuff, but I think he's very brave as a director in the sense of he's going to make something that even if you've got... It's kind of like you're going to sit there and watch this, but you're going to have to think about this. You're not just going to eat your popcorn and watch explosions and Transformers and things like that. You're going to have to use your brain here and think about this. And I like that about him. He's brave enough to kind of take the risks to make something a little bit complicated where people have got to actually watch it, get drawn into it and think about it the way we're thinking about, well, did Scarlett Johansson know? Did she not know? What did you do with all of those clones? Why didn't you just burn them instead of keeping them?
Yeah.
I like those things about Chris Nolan when he does them. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think I left Inception going, I have more questions than I had when I started.
Yes.
And no answers.
Yeah, even at the very end with the spinning top.
Yeah.
Where Leo DiCaprio, spins the top and he's watching it on the table or something, and you're expecting something to happen, and then the film ends, and you think, so was it still? And then, but yeah, you end with more questions than actually you started off in the first place.
Yeah. I remember leaving the theater. Like, I remember what movie theater I went to. I remember, like, just leaving it being so flabbergasted as to what the hell I just watched.
Yeah. Dream within a dream within a dream, and then espionage within that dream, and to plant memories inside of the levels below these certain levels of dreams. And you're like, oh my God, okay. Yeah. How do you write that? How do you come up with the idea for that? But he's a really talented guy. He's a really talented guy. And yeah, this being one of his earlier movies, I think really tested his ability as well, because he didn't have a particularly big budget to work with either, because, this was obviously around the time of Batman Begins.
Yeah.
So he wasn't, able to have, millions and millions and millions of dollars thrown at him to make this into a spectacular. But I think with what he's had, he really does a really, really good job, especially with some of the set pieces and the way it's shot, and you've got the full kind of vaudeville Victorian kind of feel about it all. And I really, really love it. I think it's great what he does with the money, and it made a good chunk of dollars as well. It's not too shabby.
Right. Yeah.
So
I love the feel. I love that it's set in the time frame that it's set. Obviously, if they were to do it now, people would just be like, oh, it's AI or whatever,
Yeah. Oh my God, doesn't that get on your nerves? It gets on my nerves. Ugh. It really gets on my nerves. And again, I think that's another thing I admire about Chris Nolan. He tries to do as much as possible practical effects.
Yeah.
And, using the actors to actually get what he wants, and having them encouraged to do that, them wanting to do that instead of, just stick him in a costume, put ping pong balls all over him, and just, move like that. We'll do all the rest of it. Now get them to do the stuff with it. Just, I kind of like him like that as well. He's not afraid to do practical stuff. He did a hell of a lot of practical stuff in Batman. Loads of stuff. Well, in literally all of the movies that he's done. But it's easy pickings with CGI, I think. I think what you need with CGI is like 3D. If you are disturbed, if you're watching a 3D movie and you are conscious about the 3D, there's a problem with the 3D.
Right.
And I think I've only ever seen 2 movies in 3D where it didn't bother me, where I was watching it and wasn't conscious of it, Sarah. You know what I mean? I was watching it and getting the experience of the film instead of thinking about, oh my God, this 3D is making me sick.
Yeah, I also hate movies where they make it in 3D, but maybe I didn't watch it in 3D, and the whole time I'm like, oh, that would have been the 3D part. Oh, that would have been the 3D part.
Yeah. They've retrofitted the 3D over the top and bolted it on. The first one, Toy Story 3. Oh. I wasn't really... I loved the 3D in Toy Story 3. It didn't really bother me at all. The big one was Avatar.
Ugh.
I've got to admit, I know, Avatar is Marmite, you either love it or hate it, but I've got to admit, when I watched Avatar in 3D, I was marvelled by it. I just thought, you know what, James Cameron, you really put your mind to it when you want to. Another guy I do admire, he's a bit of a lunatic, but, there you go.
So I love Titanic. It's one of my favorite movies. And I really like him as a director. And so I think that's why I never wanted to watch Avatar. Firstly, I didn't want to watch Avatar because the way that those people move creeped me out. And I don't like it.
Right, okay.
I don't like it. So I was like, I'm not going to watch this. And then secondly, I didn't like that it outsold Titanic, because I think Titanic is a better movie. And it really kind of ticks me off a little bit. And so something that my audience knows that you don't know, my birthday, Titanic came out on my birthday. And it was like the biggest movie that has ever come out. Like it was this whole big thing. And it was at a brand new theater. So it was all very opulent, very Titanic-esque. And it was the first time I'd ever sat in stadium seating, And it was so cool. And the whole thing was just, like percolated my whole body. Like I just get such good feelings of thinking about the day that Titanic came out, and it being on my birthday just really was like the icing on the cake. So I don't like Avatar because it's trying to like erase those memories, you know? It's trying to be bigger blockbuster than, and it's the same director. Like, I think that's what bothers me the most. I'm like, no, his biggest hit is Titanic, not the stupid Avatar.
You've got to admire the guy, and you've really got to admire James Cameron. I think not everything he's touched has turned into gold. I don't think people understood The Abyss, and I loved The Abyss. I thought The Abyss was a brilliant movie. It was a brilliant movie. Absolute hell to make, but it was brilliant. But one thing I've got to say about James Cameron as well is, yes, a lot of actors that have been part of the James Cameron family will say, oh my God, I'm not working with him again. Ed Harris was one of them. He had a torrid time on The Abyss. Quite a other. Michael Biehn, who was obviously in The Terminator, he was in The Abyss. He's one of these guys that just says, look, Jim Cameron, this is what he does. And, you know, if he's kind of a person who is excited about his craft, and he will try to give 100%, 110% to get what he wants. Yeah. But he will never ask you to do something that he's not prepared to do himself. So all the time that they were filming underwater in The Abyss, Jim Cameron was at the bottom of those tanks filming as well. All the time that they were on the Titanic being smashed around and bumped all over the place, and they were in that huge water tank, you know, filming a lot of that, and they had to air condition the sets and things like that then. James Cameron's in the water. He's doing all of it with them. So I admire him a hell of a lot. And when you know that when Cameron disappears for a few years, you kind of know that he's working on something big.
Oh, yeah.
And when I went to see Titanic, I was absolutely, utterly blown away. I'd never seen anything like Titanic before. And I think he's also a great person who knows how to use CGI, and he uses it very, very well.
Oh, yeah.
Because even now, I can't remember when Titanic came out. Was it 96, 97 or 97. Something like that? 97. Mm-hmm. Even looking back on it now, Sarah, it still holds up. Oh, my God, does it still hold up? It's still a fantastic movie. And I don't think he could have chosen a better cast to actually play those people. I do think Leo DiCaprio was brilliant in it. Kate Winslet, who was actually one of the people after Titanic, said that she would never work with Jim Cameron again. And now she's in Avatar underwater, the second Avatar underwater. Sigourney Weaver loves Jim Cameron. You know, she's had arguments with him and things like that, and Aliens and stuff. But she went back and continued to work with him. So I think all of these people either admire him or they're gluttons for punishment. They like to be tortured by James Cameron. But yeah, Titanic was spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
There's only like 3 movies that have given me that same feeling besides Titanic. One of them is A Quiet Place. Have you ever seen that?
Really?
Yeah, because it's just like you're so immersed. It's so quiet in the theater. Like I don't even think when I saw the first one, I don't think anybody was even eating popcorn or like eating any snacks because it was so quiet. And then also, oh my God, I forget what it's called every time. It's another Leonardo DiCaprio.
Django?
No. It's the one where he's like, he gets attacked by the bear.
Oh, The Revenant.
Yeah, The Revenant. Like, just sitting there when he's freezing and like the theater was so cold, like you just feel immersed in that world. And those are the only like 3 movies I can think of that I felt that same way as I did when I saw Titanic.
Well, The Revenant, you were right. You were right to feel that way because it wasn't a great production, and pretty much everything you see was actually as it properly happened.
Yeah,
it was filmed on location in those horrible places, and again, same as Christian Bale. DiCaprio's that kind of actor. If he's going to go out there and freeze, he'll go out there and freeze and do all that kind of stuff. It was. Yeah, The Revenant's brilliant. I also do like Tom Hardy, but oh my God, I could hardly understand a word he's saying in it. But there have been a number of movies where I've kind of felt the same, in kind of for different reasons. In respect of, for me, going all the way back to 1984, when I first sat in the cinema to see Ghostbusters with my mum. I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen anything like Ghostbusters, and that opening scene in the library where the library goes there and then starts, when they Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis go running off it. I was absolutely gobsmacked. I've never seen anything like that. And the cinema was full. The other film was Back to the Future. And I still come back to the Future a lot, all the time, in the sense of it has everything. It's got a brilliant story, just a brilliant story. Great cast, and one of the most awful cars ever made is now one of the most recognisable cars ever. I loved Back to the Future because it didn't have to rely on box office dollars that were invested in it to make a lot of box office dollars. The soundtrack says it all. Anybody that puts the Back to the Future soundtrack on, even people who are younger than us, just recognise that soundtrack. The soundtrack was it was fantastic. But that was me. Back to the Future was another one. I'm going to come out with another Jim Cameron one, actually, because when I watched it, again, I've never seen anything like it in my life, was Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Some of the stunt scenes in that, and especially the way that they got, the way that they did the polymorphic for a big alloy, or whatever the hell it is that Robert Patrick is the T-1000.
Yeah.
The silver. That was I just think he kind of waits until he thinks, right, I've got the technology to do this now. And he did that in Terminator 2. And I just thought it was breathtaking. It was amazing. It was amazing. I'm going to carry on now, unfortunately, because I'm going to keep you here all day. The other one as well is the obvious one. And again, I think the guy's an absolute legend. It's Spielberg and Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone, say what you like about Spielberg or whatever. Jurassic Park, when I sat there and saw dinosaurs on screen, I've never seen a dinosaur like that. It was real. It was immersive. It was chewing on a car. It was, how the hell has he done this? How do you get round this? How do you make that happen?
Right.
I was just amazed. I was absorbed by it. But again, going back to The Prestige, I was absorbed by this. It was a really good piece of cinematic storytelling with some elements of mystery. Yes, there were plot holes in it, and yes, why didn't it just carry on using the twin? And yes, why didn't the other one just guess that it was a twin in the first place? But yeah, forget all that. I really enjoyed it, and I think out of 10, I would have given it a 7 out of 10. I really like it.
Well, maybe it's because twins were harder to come by back then. Like,
I suppose
having one baby was hard enough.
Yes.
Than having two. I'm sure a lot of twins probably didn't survive. So maybe that's
a really good point, actually.
Like, I guess that could be. But, I will say, you were talking about James Cameron going for the gusto, and like, if they're going to be in the tank, I'm going to be in the tank. Sounds sort of like our friend Hugh Jackman in this movie. Like, he will go to any lengths to.
That's a great point.
To do what he needs to do, even if he's gonna die.
That's a great point. Yeah. Again, even going to the lengths of finding that twin route.
Yeah.
Going to all of that, having the embarrassment of him having his own personality at the end of it. The alcoholic route, and him having to change tack again. That's a really great point. Yeah, he was just as prepared to put his own life on the line and end up in the box.
What do you do for work?
I'm a graphic designer.
Okay. So what if they were like, hey, I need you to graphic design the hell out of this to the point of madness? Would you do that for like a Coca-Cola campaign? You know, just like...
I'm going to be honest. Yeah, I'm a bit of I've been doing audio engineering for a long time as well. So I've mixed a lot of music for singer-songwriters, bands, things like that. None of them that you've ever heard of, but obviously the thing is never chase perfection because you're never going to get it. You'll never find it. But I'm kind of the opinion that if I'm going to do something for somebody, or if I'm going to put a product out in the sense of the podcast, I want those episodes to be immersive. I want them to be recorded and mixed and mastered to the best of my ability to give the person who's listening to them the best possible experience. And if they're happy, that's all I'm after, you know?
Yeah.
I just want people to be kind of happy with the product and happy with what it turns out like, and, you know, coming back for more. So, yeah, I kind of will go to a lot of lengths to kind of get, not perfection, but, you know, to get it as good as I possibly can. And if it's not as good as I can get it at that particular time, I'll be prepared to walk away from it and then come back to it and revisit it and try again. But I think I know where the limits are, and to say, right, I think the thing for me is it's kind of in the shoulders. If your shoulders relax when you're listening to something that you've mixed, and as those shoulders relax, that's the time to walk away from it, because it's kind of telling you, yeah, you're there. You're there. Is it perfect? No, but I think you're there. This is as much as you can do. And yeah, I would kind of go to a lot of different lengths to get it as right as I possibly could. What about you? What do you do? What would you do that? How far would you go with it?
So I work in insurance for car insurance.
Yeah, okay.
So no.
And there's the short answer.
Not for them, but I will say the furthest I've gone. So I'm a very crafty person, and
okay. Do you want to be saying this? I'm not.
No. Yeah. So I make a lot of crafts. So I had made this like sequence American flag pillow for my room when I first moved to Texas. And I had shown some girl at work. I worked at a craft store, and she was like, "Oh, that'd be really cool. Could you make my husband one of the Puerto Rican flag?" I was like, "Sure, yeah, I can do that." So I started making it. I wasn't like, you know, really working hours on it, but I was working on it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, maybe a few days before Christmas, she's like, "So that's going to be done before Christmas, right?" And I was like,
no.
Okay, do you know how long this takes? Like, it's a handcrafted thing. I was like, I can try. She's like, "Yeah, I need it for Christmas." And of course, I couldn't get it for the actual day of Christmas because she needed it before then. So I had to do it like a couple days before. So I stayed up for like a day and a half, and all I did was sequence this stupid pillow for this girl. And sat there, and I just like sequenced my ass off to make this thing for her stupid husband. I got it done, but that is probably like I was delirious. But
by the way, I just do want to say that we don't, if you're listening to this and you are that with this stupid husband, we don't necessarily think so.
Yeah, like, I'm sure she's not listening, A, but B, maybe she is, and I worked my ass off on it, so I hope he liked it. And I don't even think I got paid for it. I will just say
you didn't get paid?
I don't believe so, no.
Oh.
Yeah.
Question is, would you do it again?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you go. That's it. So,
I've only made 2 of those. I stopped making them after that.
So it does answer the question that, yeah, you would kind of go to those mad, ridiculous lengths where you're going to deprive yourself of sleep and all sorts of other things to get something done.
Yeah.
Maybe it's inherent in all of us.
I also have ADHD and I procrastinate, so... Somewhere in there, it was
right,
probably my fault that it took so long. But still, it does take a really long time to sequence. You know.
I can't imagine working with something as small as sequence for that amount of time. I think that it would just drive me mad.
Yeah, and it's not just sequence. You also have to have beads. That's how you keep the sequence on.
Yeah.
So, it's, it was so much. And it wasn't just like normal thread that you use. You have to use a special thread that you have to pull apart. And so you get like this like glob of thread, and then it like every one has like 5 of them in there. And so you have to like peel them apart from their mound and then peel them apart from their individual grouping. It took a long time.
Talk about torturing yourself.
It really was. It really, really was. So, but all right. Well, is there anything else on this movie that you liked or hated or have questions about?
Not really. As I say, I think I've said what I need to say. I really did like it. I think its box office draw was not too shabby.
Yeah.
I think it was something that was pretty brave because, as you really, really rightly mentioned, and it was a really great point when you said this, Sarah, that you got something the size of The Departed that was coming out, which, again, when that came out as well, I think it was one of Nicholson's last roles as well. And plus, you'd also got the other illusion magic film with Edward Norton in.
Yeah.
And I just think this kind of gets a little bit forgotten about, and it's a shame because I think it's a great watch and it's intriguing. I just think it explores a lot of different threads throughout the lives of us as human beings. How far are we willing to go to get something that we really want? Are we prepared to go to the real extreme? How far is a human being willing to go to keep something as secretive as humanly possible? With Christian Bale's twin characters, trying to keep them in the same lifestyle but completely separate at the same time to fool as many people as possible. I do think it explores a lot of aspects of humanity, which I think a lot of Chris Nolan's stuff does. And I really enjoyed it. As I say, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I think it was a great, great film. I really loved it. I think it displayed as well that Hugh Jackman is a talented guy. And I've got a lot of time for Hugh Jackman. I think he's a really nice, genuine guy. And it was great to kind of see, again, as you pointed out, Christian Bale, the method actor, and Hugh Jackman, a completely different type of actor, coming together and being able to work really well together. And yeah, I really liked it. What about yourself? Anything that you hated apart from the fact that they could have just said that they were twins?
Yeah, right. So one thing I found in my small research was that the main character's initials spell Abra. So Alfred Borden, Robert Edgar. Yeah, as an abracadabra, which is fun.
Don't you think that's very clever? I think that's really clever.
That is really clever. I like little Easter eggs like that.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy this movie. I think I enjoyed it more than I did the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
And I would give it a 7 out of 10 abracadabras. That's what I would give.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So
I'm really glad that you watched it. Actually, that you kind of you took the challenge and you decided to give it another go.
I did.
Because, yeah.
Well,
and I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I learned very recently that sometimes my judgment is wrong. I have always disliked The Goonies. Didn't like it at all. Never a fan. But recently, I saw it in the big theater, which I feel is key to watching Goonies because it was so much better watching it on a big theater than it is at home on the TV. And
I totally agree with that.
I so enjoyed it. I had never enjoyed it before. So I hate The Princess Bride. Maybe I should watch it in theaters. I don't know. Maybe that might change my opinion on it. Not sure.
Yeah, I've got kind of mixed reactions for The Princess Bride.
I think I was too old when I saw it. I didn't see it as a kid. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I've got a few mixed reactions with The Princess Bride. It's one of those. It's kind of Marmite again. You're going to either love it or hate it. And I was just really on the fence with it, to be honest. Loved Andre the Giant, but
so happy I'm not alone on that island. So many people my age get so mad when I'm like, I don't like The Princess Bride. They're like, how do you not like it?
I think that's a great point, though, that you've raised about actually seeing it on a cinema screen, in the sense of, you didn't really like the Goonies, you weren't into it, but then you rewatched it and fell in love with it, and the big screen does do something like that justice. I kind of had a similar thing. Well, it wasn't a similar thing with not so much liking it, but when you kind of somebody. A friend will suggest a movie or something, and you're automatically thinking, I don't really want to go and see that.
Yeah.
I don't, and you're literally writing it off before you've even seen it. I've got to say, I had a similar experience with, is it Where the Crawdads Sing?
Oh, yeah.
It just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I wasn't really bothered about it. Didn't really want to watch it. I was sobbing by the end of it, to be honest. I thought it was a beautiful film.
I actually have the book right next to me. I started it.
Really?
I have never finished it.
I thought it was an absolutely beautiful film. Never really gave it a chance.
Yeah.
Wasn't really looking forward to it. It's just kind of, it's probably not my thing. Oh, God, it's so much. And I was absolutely blown away by it. And again, I think it's an example of, you don't need millions and millions and millions of dollars to make something that can really touch it and, kind of get to you and bring that kind of level of emotion out. And I think cinema does that fantastically well.
Right. I agree. Well, where can my lovely listeners find out about you and your podcast?
The lovely listeners, you can find the Haunted UK podcast on all major platforms, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Amazon, Google, all of that. You can find us on there. We've got our own website, www.hauntedukpodcast.com. We're on Instagram. We're on X. We are on TikTok. There's not many things on TikTok, but I am building that up. And we've just recently gone back onto Coffee. So we are on Patreon, but we are also on Coffee, because I don't know whether you noticed this about Apple being very, very greedy and decided to hammer everybody with 30% charges and things like that. And I was really angered by that, in the sense of, I kind of want to give the listener as good a deal as humanly possible, give them the best product that I possibly can for the right amount of money, and I like to think that I'm fulfilling that, with the listeners. But these 30% charges were just crippling. They were absolutely crippling. You were getting, patrons signing up to the tier and paying in the UK, £5.80 over the charge that the actual tier was. And I think that's criminal. That's absolutely criminal. So that's why we decided to go back to Coffee and run them at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you want the sleekness of Patreon, you can by all means go on Patreon. But if you would like the same tier, but for the actual price that it's on there for, then go to Coffee, because you're not going to get charged anything. It's us that will absorb the charges, which aren't that much, really. And it's better for me to do it that way and to know that I'm giving kind of an honest product at a fair price to the listener than literally just seeing them being ripped off. It's horrible. I'll read it out. But so before I go off on that rant, that's where you can find the show. We are currently on hiatus until September. We are working on season 7, but we are still releasing stuff. Marie, who is my partner in crime on the show, she's having a bit of a break at the moment. She's an English teacher, so she's currently bogged down with an absolute mountain of marking and stuff. And we kind of went into a bit of an experimental stage of going into interviews and things like that. And we interviewed some really nice big names. But, when you do something, Sarah, and you just think to yourself, this really isn't for us.
Yeah.
This isn't what the show's about. And that's what we kind of discovered. So we're kind of going back to our roots, which is what the listeners want, which is good old ghost stories and paranormal tales and, getting chills in the dark and things like that. That's what we've gone back to. And it works really well. It does work really well. So, and that's where you can find us. And I cannot thank you enough for having me on the show, Sarah. It's been brilliant. Lovely to actually speak to you about movies and crafts and sequins and the madness of that stuff. I really appreciate it. I really do.
No problem. This is what my audience is used to. Us just rambling about other things in betwixt the movie review.
Yes. Yeah. That's what it's about, isn't it? I think you get to know more about people if we can just go off tangent in the middle of things and just have a chat. And that's what it's all about. It's great. It's been brilliant. I really loved it. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much for being on. And yes, please go listen to his podcast. I need to listen to a couple episodes myself. And until next time, toodles.
This episode was produced by Two Chicks Talkin Flicks. Music was produced by Michael Giravani. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to be a part of the show, have a movie suggestion, or just want to give us some love, you can email us at twochickstalkinflicks@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. Toodles.